What are your general impression? What are your personal feedbacks regarding this two-day conference?
I think I must say that this is the first conference I've been to in Europe, which is organized by a civil society organization, which has the kind of vivacity and levels of imagination of presentation, which is what is necessary at the present time. And so I think in that sense, the contribution is breaking new ground by involving the community and engaging them. And I was interested that there were a lot of young women here. That is also important because by and large it becomes a patriarchal conference, and this wasn't. This was a very open event, and I really thought it was very groundbreaking.
Okay. Thank you very much. And my second question regards the concept you broached of non-centric curricula. Could you just give us briefly some more details regarding this concept?
Well, it's an idea. I mean, you look at the globalized market, that's an economic entity. However, when it comes to questions like education, governments in Europe, but it's true in other places, invoke the notion of subsidiarity. This is a national issue, not a broader, issue, either global or across Europe issue. But let's sort of say, how does the nature of Europe get constructed? What you have is, in the 18th and 19th century, when the European nations are trying to establish their identity, they look at Greece and say, Greece is the pure childhood of Europe. What they cut out of the whole history of the Mediterranean region is the way in which Greece, Egypt, and the Babylonian civilization interacted. So the knowledge that Greece accumulated was part of interaction between other civilizations, including, as I said, the Egyptians and the Babylonians. So the notion of construction of the pure childhood of Europe as lying in Greece has led to what I would call Eurocentric knowledge. Okay, so that Eurocentric knowledge then becomes the basis of nation-centric knowledge. German, education for the Germans, and so-called British education for the British. In fact, that's a problem in itself because Britain is made up of 4 nations: Wales, England, Scotland, and Northern Ireland as part of the Irish Republic. So what you have is a misrepresentation of knowledges, of the ways in which histories are constructed, or the way in which knowledge is excised out and brought in. What I think we need to look at, if you're looking at a Europe which is cosmopolitan, of notion of cosmopolitan citizenship, is the basis in which we can strengthen the democratic engagements of all people, whether they're young or old, boys or girls, and from different nationalities, to include the best of knowledge from different sources, different civilizations, different cultures, to formulate the public basis of knowledge which people have a purchase on. Now here I'm not talking of tokenistic ethnic knowledge for ethnic groups. I'm talking of public knowledge to strengthen public democracies, public education system, which really does create a basis for a school which has got the kind of dynamics existing already of young people who know what they're missing out. They leave their languages, their knowledge, their cultures at the school door, and they learn what the national government, written in a very narrow way, present them in the school. So this is a kind of, I think, a negation of the kind of education system we need to have. We need to have a non-centric curriculum which really engages in the broadest possible way with the kind of values which are shared, which will strengthen democracy, which will engage with ancient ideas of, as I said, paideia, the Greek idea, or Bildung. And make them intercultural, an intercultural Bildung, an intercultural paideia.
And a Weltanschauung.
Of course, and the kind of humanities and the way in which we sort of humanize that. Now, to give you another example, for instance, when the Renaissance was taking place, it is seen as a kind of European project. But part of the European project was the Islamic contribution to the Renaissance, in the Andalusian region, and so on and so forth. So what we need to do is to re-engage creatively with the history of Europe, with the knowledge is constructed, the kind of ways in which languages have contributed to it, and the way in which we can make that real for 21st century Europe.